Believe it or not, this is one of my guests today. She's 12 weeks old. She's a miniature schnauzer. Her name is Rue, and we're going to bring her back a little bit later in the program. But right now, I'd like to introduce you to Mark Winsor, who is the owner of Markwin Kennels, and I guess you would be the canine equivalent to a hairdresser?
Somewhat, yes. That's correct,
so.
Yeah.
Or I think the technical expression would be dog groomer.
Yes, we do canine, it's almost like a canine stylist type thing.
Now we say canine, but is it only dogs that you groom? Are there any other pets?
We also do felines, also.
Cats.
And we also do guinea pigs,
Well,
rabbits.
what kind of requirements do guinea pigs and rabbits have?
Well, basically for one, nail trimming. Usually, it's like us humans, like our nails grow. Animals are the same way. So they require nail trimming. Also with the guinea pig itself, they have long hair. You often see your long-haired guinea pigs. So they also need some trimming too. So
does it kind of get in their way if it gets too long?
It does, especially around the groin area, because what happens is all the hair just grows like
and mats,
so much,
I suppose, after a while.
And therefore, by cleaning certain areas and also to keep the guinea pig trimmed, it keeps it nice and hygienic, so less smell occurs.
Mark, years ago, I suppose most animals would keep their nails trimmed when they were in the wild.
Exactly.
But when they're living in, certainly if they're living in a home, in a domestic situation, they don't get that same kind of activity on the underpads.
Some do and some don't. Some nails grow longer than others. In animals. Normally, again, nature calls us coarse, so sometimes dogs, they chew on their nails. So therefore, the owner sees a dog chewing on his nails and say, okay, it's time to go to the groomer or to the veterinarian.
Is that a sign that it's starting to irritate them?
Somewhat, yes. In a way that if you ever see your dog chewing his nails, it could be a bad habit, or it could be the nails are just too long. And what's happening, for an example, if you have a nail like this right here, this is a dog's toenail. So
just let me see. That is a really big one.
Yeah.
What kind of a dog might that have come from?
It just came from a medium-sized.
A medium-sized dog. Yeah. Now, if you were dealing with a Great Dane or a large setter or something like that, could it be bigger than that?
Well, much wider.
Yeah, and hard to cut, I would imagine.
Harder to cut.
Okay, I think what most people are afraid of is trimming their pets' nails, because they're always afraid if they get down too far, it might start to bleed.
That's correct.
Kind of dangerous.
Well, what happens is with the nail, as it grows, it's like anything, the nail grows, so the quick is going to grow, which is the vein itself. So thereby trimming the nail back on a regular basis, say, it's flexible. You could cut a dog's, cut your animal's nails every 3 to 4 months. It's very, very flexible, it ranges. But by keeping them trimmed on a regular basis, it keeps the vein back.
Very good. And we're going to cover an awful lot of these things because I don't think people realize just how much has to be done for their pets.
That's correct.
Or at least should be done. We're going to go through all the steps, and actually we sent a camera into your grooming parlor, which you call
Four Paws Dog Grooming.
Four Paws Dog Grooming. And perhaps you can take us right through the steps. We'll show it, and you can talk about exactly what's happening.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah, sure.
And perhaps we could start off by you telling us the name of the dog in the story.
Okay, well, the dog's name is Kiwi. Kiwi's a really, really good dog to do.
Now, what kind of a dog is Kiwi?
He's a mixed breed. He's a Hans 57.
And about how old?
And Kiwi's about 3.5 years old.
I'll tell you, that is an awfully placid dog. I've seen dogs groomed before, and very often people put some sort of loops around their neck. That dog is just standing there perfectly.
Yeah, he's so good. It's not needed to in this grooming. Yeah, Kiwi's a super, super dog to do. As you see in the picture here now, I'm just clipping her toenails, and I just finished the nails, and now I'm just into shaving, shaving underneath the pads.
Now, why would you do that?
Why? Because again, a lot of people, the way we are, we're really clean over our homes, and the dog goes outside, gets into muck or grass, and basically hair attracts dirt. So by cleaning the hair away from the pad, it just keeps it clean in the home.
I'll tell you something we should probably talk about, especially at this time of the year when the dogs go out. Sometimes when there's snow on the ground and there has been salt thrown, there's a real problem. I can remember taking my dogs out, and they had those kind of feathers between the toes.
Yeah.
They'd freeze, or they'd get salt into them, and then they start to cry.
Yeah,
Why?
That's a really good point. And a lot of people have a hard time walking their dogs this time of year because of that reason. And the reason why is because animals, they go out for a walk, or they go out for a walk, and what happens is it's the salt that goes underneath the pad.
Yeah, well, they start to cry, and you think maybe they're just cold, but really it's just their feet are hurting from the salt.
That's correct, yeah. Because, see, with a dog, dogs, they don't have sweat glands as such as on the body. Their sweat glands are their nose, their mouth, and also underneath the pads, and that's where the main pores are underneath the pads itself.
Yes.
And a really good tip.
They do need some protection, I guess, during the winter.
They do, yeah. This is where you had to bring them to a softball field or, you know, a soccer field type thing.
Someplace where you know there's no salt down.
Yeah. And but a really good tip too for people that are out there that do have dogs, use cornstarch. Get cornstarch and pack the cornstarch underneath the pad, and that actually keeps the pad nice and dry.
Good idea. Yeah, see, all the things we're going to learn today for everybody that's watching there, though, with pets of their own.
Yeah.
You know, so often people say, well, you know, the only dogs that get groomed are show dogs, and that's not the truth.
No.
Why should we groom our dogs?
Why? Because it just basically, it keeps the animal, he feels good about himself. It's like us. When we go to get our hair cut, you know, we feel good about ourselves, and dogs are the same way. They feel good and they feel proud.
Yes. Mark, talk about what you're doing there now, because this is something that a lot of people are afraid of doing, cleaning ears.
What I'm doing is I'm cleaning the dog's ears, and as you see, I'm only cleaning what I see. So
in other words, the outer portion, don't go inside.
You go inside, but you'd almost have to pull the flap of the dog's ear, actually look into the ear itself to actually see where you're going, but you only clean what you see.
In other words, where the folds are, but not into the inner canal.
Not down into the inner canal,
right, then you could do damage.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, you said that dogs feel pretty good about themselves after they've been groomed. How can you tell?
Well, the thing is, when a dog comes in to be groomed, right, or even to a veterinary clinic, we should always make the dog feel his best, to make him feel good about himself. This is where the training comes in, and also the psychology dealing with an animal itself. Okay? When you deal with an animal with these services, you know, it's almost like a child. We compare dogs like children, how a child would react if they went to a dentist. The first thing they do is they shake and they shiver. So as people that's involved with animals, it's our jobs to make sure that they feel confident about themselves.
So all the time you're saying, good boy, Kiwi.
That's right.
And don't you look nice?
Yes.
So this is the way to reassure them.
Yeah.
He certainly looks a lot shorter than he did when you began.
Yeah.
What advantage is that around the house?
Well, this cut that I'm giving Kiwi is called a teddy bear cut. It's all done with scissors. So as you see me growing him, I'm not shaving him down with a clipper.
Yes.
I'm only using the clipper on his feet, his groin, etc. But I'm using what you call scissors. It's
now, what about this brush that you're using? Is that wire?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Now, does that hurt them at all? Does it kind of tug a bit?
Well, it looks like I'm a little fast on the picture here. Basically, Kiwi's used to being groomed.
Yes.
He knows when he comes in to be groomed. He knows, and basically, as you see, I'm not touching the skin whatsoever.
No.
No.
Just the hair.
Just the hair only.
Or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But no, he's an exceptionally well-behaved dog. How important is it to have an obedient dog when it comes to grooming?
Well, basically, you could do what you want to do with him. I recommend obedience school at the age of 6 months old, in a way that you know, most people out there, they don't really, like, they know, but it's nice to go to a school that offers, you know, teaching the classes.
A certain amount of discipline.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to ask you where you were taking him.
Yeah, right to the tub.
Now, I notice that you do have him secured now. Why?
That's correct. Well, the noose that's on his neck, around his neck, that's just a secondary precaution. When you wash a dog, you never leave your dog unattended. But anyway, the noose is always there to make sure that at least you can say, okay, I got something on my neck, so I know I can't move.
I know I can't go anywhere. Yeah. Is there anything we should know about bathing dogs, especially as far as their eyes and ears are concerned?
Well, basically, people wonder about, you know, different shampoos and that. If you purchase a shampoo, just purchase something that don't have any perfume in it.
Yes.
And as it comes to, you see me now washing the dog here. This is the wrong way, and now by just spraying water on them like this, because it takes a lot of work, a lot of time.
Now you're showing the wrong way. Now what is the right way?
As you spray your dog down, you take your hand and you massage the water out of him because it gets the job done quicker. It's very important that you remove all that shampoo from the dog.
Not only that, but I suppose the pressure of your hand is reassuring to him as well.
Exactly.
Instead of just being hit by the water.
You want to know something? It's the same as grooming a horse. There's always one hand on the horse while you're grooming too.
Is that right?
Yeah, and the same with a dog. You always got one hand on your tool and one hand on the doggy.
Very good.
Yeah.
Now, what happens when you have to clear with his face with the water?
What happens? Well, we're going to come to that part now in a second.
Yeah.
I've
had dogs and they were always afraid when they saw the water coming near their face.
The best way, and the thing is too, usually if you're not used to grooming or washing dogs, you should put cotton swabs in the dog's ear so you won't get any water in the ears.
Okay, so there should be some protection.
Yeah, normally like what I do, usually if dogs do come in with ear infections, I do use cotton swabs. But in our case, it's the same thing. When we wash our head, like underneath the tap, we always make sure that we bend our head. So the dog's the same way. You just aim the head, the nose towards the sink, the bottom of the sink, and just spray water over his face. And he'll be fine.
Yeah, he looks pretty confident. He doesn't look the least bit uncomfortable. Yeah. But once they get wet, they have this urge to shake.
Yes. Yeah.
I guess you get kind of wet when that happens.
Yeah. Dogs are really sensitive around their head and their ears.
Yes.
Because that's the center point of their balance, which is called the wethers, which is their shoulder area. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when we talk about grooming a dog, how often should it be done?
Okay, it's flexible. You know, some people get their dog done every 8 to 12, 13 weeks. Yeah.
Now, every time they're groomed, are they normally bathed? And would you bathe them less, perhaps, during the winter than you would in the summertime?
Well, it all depends. It all depends in the individual. Some like their dogs groomed every 3 to 4 weeks. Some like them groomed every 12 or 13 weeks.
I see.
Yeah.
What's he doing now?
Well, actually, we just took him out of the dog dryer, and I'm just praising him up, making him feel good about himself.
You said a dog dryer. Do you use a dryer similar to what we would use on our own hair?
No, it's a professional dryer. The difference in the ones that we use for ourselves is it's a small, small.
It's more direct.
More direct, but it also has a high pitch to it, which dogs don't like.
No.
So our dryers are quiet.
Yeah, he's being very, very well behaved, I must say.
He's really good. He kind of knows. It's proper protocol for him to be like this. So
No, the reason I ask you about bathing them in the wintertime, I guess there's always the fear that if they're not completely dry and they have to go outside, that they might get a chill.
That's a very good point. Home grooming, yes, you had to make sure your dog is very thoroughly groomed. But if you bring your dog to a professional groomer, it's very important the dog don't go out damp.
Right. You're going to keep them there until they're properly dried.
That's correct. And right here, you always brush your dog in layers. You never
this is after he's dry.
After when he's dry, yeah. What I'm doing here is I'm just fluffing him up before the finished work.
Oh, he certainly does look different, doesn't he?
Oh, he's fluffier. Yeah, he's really
he seems to be enjoying that part. Some animals get kind of sensitive when you touch their bellies, but he seems to be very used to this.
He's really good. And as you see, too, he's not nervous or he's not shaky because he knows the routine. This is the way we train our dogs that come in for grooming. You spend a bit of time with them,
Tell me, is the scarf kind of the finishing touch?
The scarf says it all.
Is that right?
Yeah. And he feels
I think what you're trying to do here is to get him to look at the camera. You had some trouble doing that.
Here we are, yeah.
I think he's a little shy.
I'm trying to talk to him, tell him it's all done, ready to go home. So,
yeah. And he wasn't quite ready for that.
No.
So we just have to kind of persuade him. Come on, Kiwi, look up to the camera. Oh, that's a good boy. Not only that, I think he's going to smile for us as well.
Yeah.
Hey, that's perfect.
Yeah.
You couldn't ask for anything better than that. That's a lovely smile. Yeah. Whoops, and a good shake to make it,
No, that's before shot.
You took him back to where he was when you first brought him in.
That's correct.
So we're going to get a chance to see the before and after?
That's correct.
That's very important, isn't it?
Yeah. And you can see in the after shot he's much whiter. And he's also trimmed.
Now, there's the after again.
This is called a teddy bear cut.
Oh, my glory. I thought they just did that with professional models. When they give them a new hairstyle or a new makeup, you see the before and you see the after.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's Kiwi. He's really quite pleased with himself. And to finish everything else, he's even got a scarf. Oh, goodness. Bye-bye, Kiwi. It's been fun having you. I'll tell you, he was an absolutely marvelous patient. And we're going to learn now all about some of the equipment and things that you use in the process. But you know what I would like to do? You brought some more what I call before and after shots of
correct.
some dogs that you've worked on before. So we're going to try and get a couple of those now. And I think we're just about ready now. All right, we're going to see the first before. Is he ready? There he is. Oh my, he's a shaggy one, isn't he?
He's fairly matted up, yes. Yeah.
I suppose it depends on the kind of a dog, the kind of a coat he has, and of course how active he is. If he's outside a lot, dogs tend to get into a lot of things, don't they?
Well, see, what happens is the dogs that come into us for grooming, people don't want to have their dogs shaved down.
No.
So therefore, this is what happens.
Now, what kind of a cut did you give this fellow? It looks pretty short. It's not shaved, but it's clipped short.
It is short, and it do look a lot cleaner looking.
Oh, it certainly does.
and
He's
it
kind of
looks
cute.
suitable.
Okay, now we've got another set of before and after shots. And what kind of a dog are we going to be seeing this time?
This is Pokey, the Pomeranian. He's a
Pomeranian.
Yeah.
Now that's the way a Pomeranian usually looks to me. They have that kind of big ruff around their neck.
Yes, yes.
But
this is natural looking.
Pokey's owner wanted to change that look?
Yeah, she wanted
Why?
to give her dog a new
look.
New look, yeah.
Okay, it's just like women. They want to change their image.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, Pokey certainly does have it. He doesn't look like a pom anymore, though, does he?
No, he looks like a teddy bear.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. He looks like a
See,
little teddy
this is
bear.
why this is why the cut that he has is called a teddy bear cut. Is all done
Yeah.
with scissors. So
Yeah.
there's no shaver involved.
No.
It's all done with scissors. So
But
it makes
it's
the dog.
cute, and it's kind of appealing, isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah.
It's a different kind of a look
Yeah.
altogether. Do you get many people that come in, especially with female dogs, that want to have their nails painted and bows in their hair and things like that? Do you do that as well?
Painted, not so much, but like bows, top knot, which is also called ponytail. They have the top knot put up with a bow put in their hair, and they come in. Even some clients, they come in just for a good brush out and a little bit of cologne or perfume.
Yeah. I've got to ask you some questions about your business.
Sure.
I think people watching today may not believe it, but you are 26?
I just turned 26 January.
And when did you go into business?
Well, I went into business when I was a teenager, and
You've been in business for almost 10 years?
a little over 10 years.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What made you decide to go in this particular business?
Well, my parents, they have a pet store in Mount Pearl called Critters and Things, and I basically grew up with animals itself.
But did you always have a pet of your own?
Well, I started out, actually this lady came in one day, her name is Claire Crocker. She came into our pet store, and she had this beautiful looking animal. It's called a Russian Wolfhound, a Borzoi.
Yes.
So I fell so in love with
They're
that
very
animal.
dramatic looking, aren't they?
Oh, really
Yeah.
elegant looking. And anyway, I said, I'd love to have one of these dogs. So anyway, it just turned out that I got one, and he was my buddy. He was my real buddy.
Is that right?
Oh, I thought the world
Do
of
they
him.
make good pets? They look, I mean, they're so elegant. I mean,
That's
you
right.
usually see them in fashion shots and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They make real good pets.
Do they?
Yeah.
Are they what you might call a one-man dog, or are they
No.
generally friendly?
They are generally friendly. Yeah.
Now, you had never had a pet before. And obviously, you had the total care. And one of the first things that comes to my mind, so often when people have small children, they want to have a pet. They want to have a dog for
That's
them.
right.
But is there a recommended age when children should, be able to take care of a dog on their own?
Well, usually, it's like, children, say 3 or 4 or 5 years old, they don't know their own strength.
No.
So usually it's up to the mother. Usually it's up to the parents to know.
And to protect the dog.
Usually that's usually the parents to know like their own instinct. Okay, well now it's time to have to bring a new member into the family. So yeah.
But it's really like bringing a baby into the house, isn't it?
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's almost the same thing.
Yeah. Speaking of babies, we're going to bring your baby back in a minute.
Rue.
Rue is how old?
Rue is 12 weeks old.
12 weeks old.
Yeah.
Where did she get the name?
Well, I study martial arts.
Yes. You're a black belt, I understand.
Yeah, and in fact, our style is called Chicharu.
Yes.
Chicharu, and Chicharu means 1,000-year-old style. So Rue is style. So I wanted something that was unique, like a unique name, something that stand out, that was really, really nice. And I thought that, when she's older, she'll have a really, really good style. And Rue's a show dog, and she's my next show dog I'm going to be showing.
Rue is a miniature schnauzer.
She's a miniature German Schnauzer.
Tell me, do they come in large litters?
Okay, this is the miniature, and then you have the standard,
Yes.
and then you have the giant.
No, but did she come into in a large litter? I mean, was she one of how many when she was born?
There's four puppies.
One of four?
One of four.
No, because some dogs have much larger litters, and I was just wondering in a miniature if they would have smaller ones, as a rule. Smaller litters.
Usually in the breeding, you'll often come with a runt. You know, you'll always have a runt. You know.
Is that right?
Which is the smallest one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they make the best pets, though. You never know, do you? Really?
All depends.
But she is exceptional. And I was going to say, maybe, would you like to put her down on the couch beside you? Because there were a couple of things that we wanted to talk about here. Oh, she likes the toy.
Yeah.
She wants to play. Oh, she's a good girl. Yes. Now, you want to explain what this fuzzy thing in the middle is here.
Okay, well, as you've seen in the picture a little earlier, before, this is Matt. This is what Matt actually is. So this came off a mixed breed that I clipped down, and of course after shaving this down, the animal felt so much better.
I can imagine, because when it's this matted down, I mean, it's almost impossible to clear it, isn't it?
It really is.
I mean,
so
to get the knots out. Yeah.
And see, many people say, you know, like, how did this occur? How did this happen? Well, how it happened was, well, for one, lack of brushing.
Yes.
For two, most people, what they do is they don't think about brushing their dogs out. They see a little bit of dirt on their dog, and the dog is in the tub. So what I'm trying to say is you should always brush out your dog before you bathe.
Okay, let's talk about between groomings. What should we be doing? I mean, if we have a pet at home, how often should they be brushed? Should they be brushed daily?
Okay, it's not how often they should brush, how often, like how good of a job it is to be done. So like many people, when they brush out a dog, for instance, this is a slicker brush that we use. So when people
This is the brush that you were using on Kiwi in the
That's correct,
film.
yes. So when people brush their dogs out, the first thing they do is they start, say, with the head or the neck, and they go over the dog like this. But as of in the picture that you've seen earlier, you always start with the back end, and you work your way up to the head. So you always start at the back, and you work your way up. But with this mat right here, it's just caused from this overbathing and not brushing.
Which is too bad. Tell me, when you have a dog, especially if it's a very young one, should you start grooming them at an early age so they kind of get used to being done every day or every other day, as the case may be?
Yes, if the dog, if you have a puppy at 6 weeks, 8 weeks old, you start right away on grooming. And it don't have to be just brushing. It could be, you know, if you have, say, a washer or dryer at home, put a shower mat down so it catches like your puppy's stability so he won't slip or fall.
Yes.
Because see, the washer or dryer is like your height advantage.
Right.
You see? And so just for an example, if we have Rue here for a second, while we're brushing our dog and our washer dryer, because most of us, we can't afford tables or, you know, so we always have a washer dryer.
Tables,
or even a deep freeze. So you put a shower mat down, and when you brush your dog out, you know, you start with the legs, and then you start with the body. But in a way, that just touch his feet. Touch his feet. Look into his ears, open up his mouth.
It's a good time to check for any kind of problems, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But what you're doing is you're also getting them used to the handling effect.
Yes.
And that's the secret. You start at a young age. Even with babies, you know how some babies, they don't like being turned over, and you're there, don't like this, and you're going, you're trying to kiss the baby, and the baby don't like it?
Yeah.
Right? What it does with an animal is it calms them down, it relaxes them.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But you know, just the whole sense of touch, I guess it's psychological to a certain extent.
It really
They get
is.
used to being handled, and they realize
That's correct.
you're building up a kind of a bond between them, aren't you? The touch.
The
touch is so important.
Yes. This is why when you're grooming an animal, there's always one hand on the tool, but one hand on the animal too.
Yes.
To make them feel that you're there.
Sure, and for it's a safety factor as well, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yes. He looks very happy. How many
yeah.
more are there like him at home?
How many more? We have 3 more.
3 more puppies?
No.
And you have large dogs as well?
No,
Yeah.
I have a Sheltie, and I have 2 Schnauzers.
It sounds to me like you went into a business because you love animals.
Well, I don't think of the breeding aspect of it all, the showing, as a business. I think it as my hobby, basically.
But it's full-time.
It's full-time, but I think of my dogs as my children.
But
You know?
the little business that you decided to go into has developed into what, 4 separate businesses?
That's correct.
Tell me about them. There's the grooming,
Yeah.
which is something that you wanted to do to begin with.
That's
You
correct.
trained for that.
Yeah. And then I opened up a kennel just recently.
When you say a kennel, you mean a boarding kennel?
Yeah, a kennel is a boarding. It's a boarding place. Thereby, you know, it's a place that you can bring your dog. Okay.
If you're going to be on a trip or
if you're
something
going, you know,
like
if you're
that.
going away. My kennel's like almost like a home facility. so it feels like home, you know. And then I went in.
Which is very important to animals that may be pining for their owners too.
Yeah, that's correct. That's like, you know, when the dog comes to us, it's our job to make sure that we make them feel like home. It's the same way with a child. When you bring a child, you know, to a daycare, you know, they're really nervous. But after when the parents leave, you know, they feel like they're at home and they blend in with, you know, all the other. No?
I think she's gonna fall asleep in your arms.
Yeah.
I think what they would like to do before we end the program is take another picture of her. Would you like to put her on the couch, because it's really much easier to see her over there. But I was going to say, we didn't finish talking about the other businesses. You also have very strong feelings about disciplining your dog.
That's
and
right.
The dog learning a certain amount of obedience, so you've incorporated this into the business as well.
Yes, and we're also doing dog obedience and also behavior problems with animals. Yeah.
And that's something people don't always know how to deal with.
No,
Yeah.
I think that if everyone out there has an animal as of a dog, they should come by or just try to put them in obedience.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah, because our
Just
job,
to make them well liked by other people too. I mean, it makes it a social animal.
Socialization, and also teach. We don't train the animal itself. We train the person. Teach them from wrong to right, and how to handle their dog properly, and also to feel them confident in what they have. Because by training a puppy, you could actually train them of what you want them to make them to be.
Anyway, it's funny how one thing leads to another. You found out that it was costing you a lot of money to get things like your clippers and your scissors sharpened.
That's correct.
So you took a special course and learned how to do that as well, so now you've got a sharpening business on the side.
That's correct, yeah. I flew down to New York and Buffalo, and apparently, you know, it just cost me X number of dollars to send my equipment away to be sharpened.
Yes.
And I said, you know, I don't want to get involved with commercial stuff like chainsaws. If not, I wanted to get involved, say, with the clipper blades that groomers use, or the scissors, or beauty beautician shears,
Yes.
and also veterinarian surgical equipment, and also blades.
You keep busy. Would you
Yeah.
believe our time is gone? I thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
I think it's absolutely remarkable, and I suppose our advice to everybody would be, if you think it's hard to find a job in Newfoundland, find a need in the community, train yourself for it, and become an entrepreneur. I thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we thank Rue, too, who I think is going to fall asleep on the job, unfortunately. But thank you very much for joining us. We've been learning all about Marquand Kennels and about grooming your own dog, and I hope you've taken some of this advice to heart. And last but not least, if you enjoyed this, I certainly hope that you're going to join us again next week at Shirley's Place, because you never know what you'll find.